Well, it's been some months since I've done an update about the performance of my solar panels. What we're going to be talking about is a full 6-month update as to how my solar panels have been doing for the year of 2025 so far. Now, if you haven't watched my previous videos, my name is Anthony. I own a 9 kilowatt solar panel array up here in Scotland. And in this video, we are going to be talking about how my solar panels have been doing as in the context of having an electric car and also having heat pumps running my house. So my house is now all electric. We're also going to be we're going to be doing a little experiment too. We're going to be wetting our solar panels and seeing whether we can get more output out of them just by wetting them. And the other thing we're going to be having a look at are future technology developments and also how my heat pump has been doing when it comes to heating up hot water in the summertime. So before we go into the particular months in detail, what I want to show you is the headline figures here. 4.26 megawatt hours produced from 1st of January until 30th of June and 3.42 megawatt hours of consumption. So this is important. We have got an electric car, we have got electric heating in the form of a heat pump. So our house is all electric. And yet we are producing more electricity on average from the sunshine than we are consuming. And in particular, look at this import here, 1.3 megawatt hours versus the export 2.4 megawatt hours. This is where the trade of money happens. And overwhelmingly, we are importing at 7 pence per kilowatt hour and we are exporting at 15 pence per kilowatt hour. There are some days, particularly in January, where we are importing at the full 28 pence per kilowatt hour on those particularly cold days, but they are small in number, even though we are importing quite a lot on those particular days. But nonetheless, it does show that our exports are generating maybe 3 times as much income as we are spending in terms of electricity for the rest of the time. But let's scroll down and let's look at the months compared to previous months on previous years. And you can see here May absolutely stands out. And the astonishing thing about May is that it rises head and shoulders above any month in June, which is where your longest daylight remains. I have never seen this kind of performance before, and we're going to go into that in a little bit of detail. But as you can see, the previous months, June, not the worst, but far from the best. April, very good, but not as good as the April 2021. That was when we got absolutely glorious days. March, pretty good as well, but again, not the best. February, close to the worst. And January, not too bad either. So this is the month of January, and it's interesting. In particular, this day here, this is where we consumed the most. This was the coldest night of the year, dropped down to minus 12 degrees Celsius. So you can see we consumed 63 kilowatt hours of electricity. We charged up our battery here, and we also were charging up the car overnight. During the daytime, we were using the battery until the battery had run out of charge about 2:30 in the afternoon. From 2:30 onwards until 8 o'clock at night, we were running the heat pump. What I tend to have at 8 o'clock at night is that I have a lower temperature setting on my thermostat, and then it will drop down from 21 to 20 degrees, and then the heat pump stops running at that point until it hits 19.5 degrees, and then it kicks back in again. Not much sunshine during this particular day, so it helped a little bit, but it didn't help all that much. But you can see it's still helpful. So 1.72 kilowatt hours of production on the hungriest day of the year, and this is where I need the grid the most. It's this particular day. So if we go back to January, you can see the best day of the month is towards the end of January, 11.76 kilowatt hours. Let's look at that in a bit of detail. you can see we were peaking out at 3.5 kilowatts. So we now have enough electricity during the daytime to run a kettle. But cumulatively, this is a good amount of electricity produced compared to our consumption. I was away from home. This heat pump was operating thermostatically, trying to maintain the temperature at 12 degrees. And it's not very efficient at this kind of in this kind of regime where it's operating thermostatically. It's a lot more efficient when you're running it to try and keep a constant temperature of about 20 degrees inside the house. So February is also noteworthy. I want to just focus on two particular days. This is a day I've mentioned in my previous video, 3rd of February. You can see in 11:15 we were generating tiny quantities of electricity. Normally when you see such bad quantities of electricity, there is snow on the solar panels, but on this day there was no snow at all, and it was a particular concern. What we had actually was very dark clouds over our house. There was no rain. This was a high level cloud. It's called cirrostratus cloud, and it's very dense. I've seen it also in March, but this time I was concerned. I've never seen this this kind of behavior, this performance before. But if we compare it to the next day, this is much more typical for a cloudy day in February. 960 kilowatts. That doesn't give me any sleepless nights at all. But I was away from home, so there was nothing I could do about it. But look on my security cameras, and sure enough, it was just very dark clouds. Now, one other day I want to look at is this day. This is the one where I'm actually at home. So you can see here how we're using the battery, and this is what I want to talk about. February is a really good time of year, along with October, where you've got cold days and you're using the heat pump a lot, but you are also using the battery quite a lot. So in this instance, you can see we're getting a full cycle out of our battery in the evening time, and we're also getting about 20% cycle in the morning time. And this is of interest because this is where you get the maximum value out of your battery. In the winter time, you get about 1 cycle out of your battery, and in the summertime, you probably get a small fraction of a cycle out of your battery. But in February time, you can, on a particularly cold day, you can get 2 whole cycles out of your battery. So now I just want to talk about May, and this is astonishing. We have got 5 days in a row where we are producing more than 50 kilowatt hours of electricity. And indeed, the 16th of May, I think that's the record for the whole month, 53 kilowatt hours. Let's have a look at this. And you can see that although it's the record for May, we have got production chopped at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And what's going on here is that our battery is fully charged. So we have an export limit of 5 kilowatts at this site, and we will charge up the battery using surplus solar above 5 kilowatts of export. And as you can see, the battery charges up quite nicely until 100%. And then once the battery is fully charged, we are missing out on this production. So we could potentially get another, let's say, another 2.5 kilowatts of production out of this particular day. So how do I make sure the battery can do this? Well, you can see in the evening time, we discharge the battery. I don't get any extra money for discharging here. I'm not on the Octopus Flux tariff, but on the Octopus Go Intelligent tariff, I get the same amount of money for export during this period as what I do during the rest of the day. So how much to discharge the battery by is dependent on what the weather's going to be like the following day. So it's a best guess. I do not have any formulas to apply here. It is very much a roll of the dice and see how it gets on the following day. If we go to June as an example, so here's June. This one was the best producing day, 49.74 kilowatts. You can see here we've applied the same regime for the battery. Here we're discharging during the early evening, but you can see here we're charging up the battery with surplus solar above 5 kilowatts export until we get to 3 o'clock, and then we just charge it up at the full rate. So here you can see we have got a lot of cloud interrupting production in the afternoon. We're not able to recharge the battery at that same rate. So this is an example of why it's a roll of the dice as to how much you discharge your battery by. Well, performance is all well and great, but the real question is how much value have these solar panels returned to me so far this year? So as you can see, for 2025, we have returned so far £732 worth of value. And all told, the value returned by a solar system is just under £6,000. So bear in mind, we invested £11,000 in the first place. We are about 54% of the way there towards returning our capital. That's important because we have had our solar system for less than 5 years at this point. Once we get to the end of the year, then it's a full 5 years. Battery returns, on the other hand, £1,089, and the investment was original investment was £7,500. This is the return after just nearly 3 years of operation. So the returns on batteries are not as good, but bear in mind £7,500 was the project cost. If I was to buy that same battery today, it would cost £4,500 in terms of project costs, and you would much more likely break even on your battery investments now with battery prices as they are now. So in terms of how the returns are broken down, you can see self-consumption is still higher than export in terms of value, and your battery consumption is broken down into overnight import at 7 pence per kilowatt hour, £107, and then you've got battery consumption, which is directly from solar. So that's when you're charging up the battery during the daytime and then using it at nighttime. When it comes to Octopus Energy saving sessions, I have not participated in the scheme this year. The export rates are just not worth it. Now, one of the things I've noticed is that when the rain clears and the sun comes out, we can sometimes get much higher levels of output. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a hose, and we're going to hose them down a little bit, get the panels cooler, and we're going to see whether we can get a higher level of output on a sunny day. So that's the front panels done. We're going to go around the back and we're going to do that over there. We've got about 5.7 kilowatts of electricity still being generated. So it hasn't made any difference just having water on the panels. So if I look at the temperature of the wall of the house, it's 35 degrees. That's a pale color. But we've definitely reduced the temperature of the solar panels. It's 31 degrees. So you know, the effect of cooling has had a significant impact, and yet we're not getting higher levels of output. It's still about 5.7 kilowatts. And we haven't done all that much wetting. We haven't saturated them. We've just given them a bit of a splash. I don't want to do anything more than a bit of a splash in case you shock the system. But nonetheless, the temperature has been brought down below what we have got on other surfaces around the property. So all told, I think we can conclude that temperature is not the reason why the solar panels are doing so well after the rain. And I think what matters more is the impact of having clouds in the vicinity, because clouds do scatter light, and they scatter a lot more light onto your solar panels. In that situation where the sun has just come out, you've still got a lot of clouds about after the rain. Now, I made a decision not to go ahead with a solar fence project in my house. And the reason I made a decision not to go ahead was down to the fact that connecting a new inverter to the grid would cost me at least £6,500 in terms of connection costs, in terms of burying a new cable. But things have changed in that time. We now have a new battery which is coming onto the market. It's available for pre-order now. It's from Fogstar Batteries, and it is a 30 kilowatt hour battery. And that battery costs £3,500 plus VAT delivered to your door. And the interesting thing about that is that it changes the economics very significantly. So previously I was looking at Pylon Tech batteries. I was looking at 6 of those, and they would cost about £6,000. So to reduce the cost of the battery by just over £3,000 is significant. It changes the game quite a lot. And I do wonder whether having an off-grid system would be a worthwhile option in the future. But there is a problem with this battery. It weighs 230 kilos, and between my driveway and my shed we've got steps. So if anyone knows how to shift 250 kilos down steps safely and cheaply without breaking your back and without suffering any other kind of injury, I'd be interested to know how, and I haven't figured it out myself. I know it's not winter time, but I do use this heat pump to heat up my hot water. So is there any remarks to be said about the summertime? Well, yes, there is. When the temperature goes above a certain amount, about 24 degrees, this heat pump is no longer heating up my hot water. Instead, it's relying on the backup immersion heater. Let's go and take a look at the reasons what and the reasons why. So this is a situation I've got with my hot water. It's using the backup heater. It is not using the heat pump. As you can see, the outside temperature as recorded by the heat pump is 32 degrees. Now the actual temperature is about 22 degrees, but you just got the sun on the heat pump. So let's have a look at see what we've got in terms of, let's go to actuators actually. You can see the pump's on, backup heater 2 is on, and the diverter valve is set to domestic hot water. So you can see compressor is off. If we look at the sensors, outdoor temperature is 32 degrees. We just zoom in here, you can see that this is the operating envelope of your heat pump. So anything with an outdoor temperature below 25 degrees is good for running your heat pump down to minus 25. Anything above, and it's backup heater only. So anything with a diagonal shaded envelope is backup heater only. So if your condenser temperature is not going to be an issue here, but your ambient temperature, it just doesn't want to do heating above 25 degrees. And that's a real shame. This is something which Daikin could change using a firmware update if they wanted to, but unfortunately I don't think they will for this purpose. So that's it for this video. I don't want to do solar panel updates on a monthly or even a quarterly basis these days. There isn't anything unique to be showing unless there is. And in this video, I think showing the performance for May was very interesting. And I think showing the consumption versus production for an all-electric house is also very interesting. Bear in mind, my solar panels are also suffering from partial shading, especially in the winter time. So it's not an ideal location. But it's interesting to see where technology and prices are going. And Fogstar, I think, are leading the way with that. I haven't seen any other 30 kilowatt hour battery systems which are as cheap as what Fogstar are producing. And they were the market leaders in terms of cheap 30 kilowatt hour systems 2 years ago, but now they've broken records all over again. I think other battery manufacturers need to take note and follow suit. But that is it for this video. So in the next videos, I'm not too sure what those are going to be about. I haven't been speaking about my car since my 500-mile challenge on the North Coast 500. I do have end of warranty coming up on this, and there will be an MOT as well. It will be the second MOT for the vehicle. Maybe there is something to talk about then. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you again very soon.